right, thank you so much. That was way too long of an intro, but I appreciate it. Hi, I'm Jeff Hilton. Welcome, it's great to have you here. Welcome to What's the Buzz. We did this last year and we're doing it again, so here we are. What we try and do in this session is we try and identify ingredients that we think are innovative, up and coming, and thought leading in terms of what's happening in the industry. And brands that are tapping into some of the trends that we think are around us as we sit here in the show floor, right? So there we go. So I've got 3 guests with me today, and we're going to do a short little Jimmy Fallon style, and I know Jimmy Fallon, but we're going to do our best to do a little interview with each, and we'll go from there. So my first guest is the president of OmniActive Health Technologies, Abhijit Bhattacharya. See, I did that well. That's not an easy name.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you? Good. Excellent. So, AB, it's good to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Likewise. Always exciting.
Yes, it's a great show. It's a great time to be in the industry. So one of the trends that we have talked a lot about in the past few days has been the move in the industry from silos to more collaborative efforts. Suppliers working with brand partners, giving them more turnkey solutions with IP and other patents and science. What are you doing on that front to help your brand partners be successful?
So I think for us, given our customers need to innovate all the time, we think that innovation needs to take place in 3 planes. It first of all needs to innovate through R&D, it needs to innovate through science, and you need to innovate with your customers in the market. So I think what a lot of suppliers did until now was really they bought a new R&D solution or a product to the customer. I think now the process with us begins way earlier when we are partners with the customers in innovating what might be a solution that they want to come up with. What are the opportunities that they see for which they need special science, new insights into the products or into the clinicals that are there. And then how do you put it all together into a solution for the market?
So it's a much more collaborative effort, and it starts earlier on, it sounds like.
Yes, and the most important thing is that a lot of partners now expect you to work with them in converting what you know about the product into consumer-facing language, into things that they can then take across to their customers, to their interest groups, to different customers.
I mean, no one knows your ingredients better than you do, right? So who better to help the customer understand what they can say, how they can communicate?
So if you take an example, what we did with our ingredient lutein and Glutamax 2020, we not only work with different customers on specific segments into which they wanted to introduce products into. We said, okay, if this is what you're trying to do, maybe the science that you want is not going to be just the traditional science of lutein protecting your eyes from degenerative conditions. But maybe you are talking to a younger audience. Maybe it's the millennials. Maybe it is the Gen Xers. How do you then convert the message into protection of your eyes against digital light, protection of your visual performance in the day-to-day stress of modern living? And how do you build evidence around that with science so that the customers can now formulate a product and then have the messaging for that segment of the market?
Excellent. It feels like you brought up lutein. Lutein for me is like protein in that it has applications to the entire spectrum of the demography, don't you think? All the way from seniors all the way down to millennials and Gen X.
Yes, that's actually the name of a campaign we have. We started the whole educational platform for lutein and call it Lutein for Every Age. It's almost 4.5 years now, and the whole objective here was that you don't just need lutein to protect your eyes when you're a senior, but you need to start to bridge the nutritional gap from the time you're children, you're an adolescent, you're a young active adult. And we also build evidence with that not only evidence in older populations, but in younger populations, and how that makes a difference.
You mentioned this issue of blue light. That's an interesting topic considering the prominence of digital devices in our society today. Is that becoming an issue more with consumers?
I think it resonates in a big way. I mean, if you consider I see people here with digital devices with them. Most of them are of course switched off, but when they're turned on, there is a big source of blue light coming at them. And all of us are in front of screens, in front of LED light, all kinds of light sources. And the constant stress and impact on your eye from these high energy light sources is impacting your visual function in different ways. It's impacting your sleep. It's causing stress for you. And all of this is linked to the link between your eye and your brain. And we've tried to build research around that to show it's meaningful, because before we did the research, people have been complaining about the fact that they experience this. Each person here probably feels it. And here's science that shows it works.
So is there actually research done on blue light? Has there been research done on that issue?
There's actually been research done by us on supplementing lutein to protect your eyes and show better function when you are a heavy user of digital devices. So that's what we have established.
And that's a study recently completed?
It's a recently completed study. It's been published. There are 2 or 3 publications which have come out of it, not only on visual function, but also on other forms of brain information processing, brain health. We actually have speakers at this show who are talking about it. There's a session going on right now on how it might be an important role on brain health.
One last question. In the whole area of curcumin is kind of the ingredient of the day. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's looking to formulate with it. What's the state of the art in terms of curcumin and bioavailability, which is always an issue with that ingredient?
So I think it's very important for curcumin to be formulated in a manner that the benefits of it are going to get across for the right population, for the right benefit, with the right measures. So what we did was, besides enhancing bioavailability, also address the needs through research which is meaningful to modern lifestyle. It's not just about talking about disease conditions. That's not what you want to do. You want to use curcumin in a way that it can impact your performance in a better way. It can help you recover from exercise fatigue. It can, improve your endurance. And we did research on the properties of curcumin in healthy populations with exercise. We have published clinicals on that, and we recently also got a patent on that.
Excellent. So your focus here at the show, messaging-wise, what are you promoting first and foremost?
So where science and innovation meet. But I think what you will notice is there's a lot of buzz about zombies walking around. And that in a way signifies, the state in which we are in when we are exposed to blue light for endless hours of binge watching on some screen or the other. So I think it's a good way to get people to get talking about blue light, and there's people can experience some of the work that we've done. Maybe they're lucky they'll see something in augmented reality on how all of this works. And a lot of science, clinicals, and publications.
I've seen a lot of zombies. I don't know that they're all the ones you brought, though, but yes.
Some of them were from the party last night.
Yes, I think so. Maybe, thank you. It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you. Wow, wonderful. Okay, next up is the CEO of Algalif, and Andrew Jacobson. Andy, would you come up, please? I love this shirt.
Free product.
Free product. I know. It's like vision. Yeah, I could use that. Right. Welcome. It's good to have you here. One of the other trends that I think we're increasingly seeing in industry is demand from consumers and consequently companies for more transparency and sustainability initiatives in terms of the ingredients they offer. It seems you have a unique story to tell there. Can you give me some details on that?
Well, sure. I mean, I think first of all that we want to make sure, at least us as a company, that we truly define what transparency is, because as you know, there are many different definitions that companies interpret, and we don't want that word to become natural. And I think our story is really interesting. We're a company in Iceland, but we didn't choose Iceland. Iceland really chose us. And because of that, we were really looking at the opportunity that Iceland gives us. First of all, the high quality of people available there that understand this. Iceland is an amazing country because they're really self-sustained, right? So there's a great abundance of some of the cleanest and freshest water in the world. 100% geothermal power. So there's an endless supply of power. And extraordinarily clean air. I think it's one or two within the world. And those factors together really make it advantageous to do what we're doing because we know nothing from the inputs are going to get into the product for us. Like there's no plastics or pesticides or heavy metals because it's just not prominent there. So from that perspective, it's great, which for us, it's easy to be transparent. And we encourage it to anyone that we've spoken to and to truly understand the value of the ingredients. And if we mix it with a formulated product, it's the same thing because consumers are getting infinitely smarter.
Yeah.
And it's moving faster than it did before. It's like before on certain parts of the business, well, it was organic. And then it was, well, wait a minute, organic's great, but it needs to really be locally produced, closer to market. And it's going to be the same thing with transparency. It's great that you're pushing your product as being clean, but then when a customer takes it and blends it with other ingredients, well, how much have they done with those other ingredient companies to make sure the same level of transparency exists into a finished formula? And I think encouraging other suppliers and vendors to be totally transparent, I think is going to do wonders because there's always that mystery of what's in some of the products. And let's face it, we're all not cut from the same cloth, and we're expected in our industry to self-police, and we should do a better job of it.
That's excellent. We talked a little bit in the education session about clean label and people saying, what's the definition of clean label, to which my response was there is no single definition. It's a spectrum. Consumers are at different places. Some are just looking for no artificial this, that, and the other. And then others are really looking to the source and where things came from. Do you think that consumer has evolved on that front in terms of what they're looking for? Are they more knowledgeable?
Yeah, I do believe that, and I believe it's really the food labeling that has trained the consumer to ask the question, because up until recently, and when I say recently, within the last decade, you never really had to talk about the ingredient of the ingredient. So what made it up? And I think as consumers found out that there were these byproducts and things that they didn't want, that didn't necessarily have to be listed, they felt betrayed and fooled, and they moved away from those brands as they come out. And I think that's really important, that what's on the label is in the package. There shouldn't be like, well, oh, we use that as a carrier, oh, we do this. If you can test it and it shows up, you should list it. And I think that's a simple discipline that every company can use, because you're absolutely right. There is no definition. And what's bothersome is my product's more pure than yours.
Yeah, how do you win that, right?
There's no way to quantify that. And really, we always encourage people to take our challenge. We will put our product up from a transparency perspective, quality perspective. Test it. Test it against any one of our competitors. And our competitors, most of them, would say the same thing. And I think a really good, growing, healthy industry is a group of companies that truly believe in what they're doing to grow the category. And I think that goes to educating the consumer and also educating the people who we supply from our perspective, blended with their R&D.
So the astaxanthin market is a somewhat mature sector, and it's growing rapidly. What's the future of the astaxanthin marketplace?
Well, I mean,
in your opinion?
I appreciate your saying it's a mature ingredient. It has an 8% household penetration level in the United States. So it's not really that. that understood, I guess is a better way. And you know, we would like to be as recognized as lutein. And the problem that held back astaxanthin from making that leap was an overall supply issue that swept the industry about 3 years ago. And what happened was the ingredient was so expensive, it really discouraged people from adding it into formulation, because condition-specific products, as I think we all know sitting here, they do a better job selling than an individual ingredient. Mm-hmm. And we have to go out and tell the story and show people that, hey, astaxanthin is the strongest antioxidant available, and at its use rate within a formula, it's economical. And there was none available for formulation 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago.
So, just a closing question: Do you feel like the brand partners, the companies you speak with, appreciate the fact that you have a story that you can tell, not just this piece of it, but you can tell the origin, you can tell a broader 360 story about your product, correct?
Absolutely. First of all, if not for the people that we have in our facility, and as welcoming as Iceland is, and the people that run the facility and do the things in the facility, the majority of them are Icelandic. And I think we have a very strong story there, but it's cultural. It's a cultural wanting to be the best and wanting to have that quality and not wasteful. It's built in, this is an island that is self-sustaining. It produces more power than it needs. But they're very mindful. It's like we have all these resources, but we don't waste them. We're very mindful and respectful of the land and the country that we're in to ensure that we don't waste water. We don't overuse power. It's a dedication to the 7 PhDs that we have working in that company that keep us as a quality first company before anything else.
So when you say Algalif inside, or Algalif, when you say Iceland inside, you really mean that?
Absolutely. We like to put a little bit of Iceland in everyone.
Nice. Excellent. Andy, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
All the best.
All right. All the best. Excellent. Third guest today is William Landers, and William is the Chief Executive Officer of a company called CoffeeFruit. And Will, join me, please. How are you?
Doing great. Nice to be here.
Good. Have a seat. So this is your first, as CoffeeFruit's first time at this show, correct?
Correct.
Wow. So one of the things that I've chatted a lot about is ingredients that come with interesting stories. And from what I've learned about CoffeeFruit, you have a really very compelling story. One of the things that come up frequently is this whole idea of not only addressing health, but addressing issues, right, that are of concern to the earth, to the environment, etc. And tell us about your story and how that connects.
Yeah, absolutely. So, CoffeeFruit, historically, people drink coffee every day. In the U.S., about 400 million cups of coffee we consume every day. It's a cherry fruit on a tree. So, a lot of people don't know this, but coffee is a hand-picked cherry fruit. Farmers will take that to the mill, and it's a wet and dry milling process. So the coffee bean goes one way, and the coffee fruit goes another way. Okay. Right? I live in Kona, Hawaii, on the Big Island, and my oldest farmer that I work with is 102 years old. Medium age is maybe 64, right? And so for generations, they've been hand-picking coffee fruit, and they drink it in the morning. It's a commodity. But what we've done is basically preserve that fruit, give it a shelf life, and put it into beverages and cosmetics and food supplements. And it's kind of a tart cherry flavor, but to see the face of a farmer and educate them with something that their families have been doing for 4 and 5 generations is a really remarkable feeling.
Plus, the coffee wastage issue, I just saw an article recently, Starbucks commented on it about the amount of wastage of coffee fruit that happens in this country. You're really kind of upcycling that, right? And
absolutely
putting it to use to improve health.
Absolutely. So it's a food ingredient. It's 15 billion pounds of coffee fruit globally yearly, You get to go to countries like Costa Rica and Guatemala and some of these places where, historically, prior to technology, we couldn't have done preservation like we're doing today. So we've patented processes of preserving the fruit, giving it, making it food safe, and putting it into a lot of amazing market segments.
So what are the constituents of the fruit that are valuable for health?
Well, it's very high in antioxidants, chlorogenic acid, polyphenolics. It's great potassium, fiber, protein. Science-wise, we've done a lot of independent studies just to discover, what's in it. Why is it good for the consumer? Why is it good for, the world?
Would it compare to like an acai or something similar?
So in regards to antioxidant scores, it's roughly about 6 times the acai berry. So, when we're in the coffee industry and we're discovering, wow, we can preserve this and really do something remarkable, and your term upcycling is exactly correct. It's a really nice sustainable model, and it's zero waste product.
Yeah, that's cool. And is mycotoxins, is that an issue?
So fruit, anytime you cut an apple open and that flesh is white and within a few minutes it starts to oxidize, right?
Right.
And so what we've done is basically we stopped that oxidation process. And fruit does create a mycotoxin, so we stop that from happening. That's great.
So zero mycotoxins.
So we're eliminating a mycotoxin. Great.
Wow. Okay. And can be used in a food as well as a supplement? What other categories is it appropriate for?
So for us, we look at a beverage. So it's a nice flavor profile. It's kind of a tart cherry flavor, cosmetic, food supplement, dietary supplement, nutraceutical, and that's really what we're pushing is anything from personal care to health and beauty. So.
Wow, that's a very compelling story. So as a new exhibitor, what are you focusing on when customers come into the booth?
It's amazing, but the questions that we've been getting, a lot of people, they want to know what is coffee fruit, and it's funny because everyone's drinking a cup of coffee in the morning, and just to tell them that it's actually a cherry on a tree, globally, it's handpicked, and really educating the B2B and the consumer. It's a really nice position to be in to help educate people, help the farmer, create a nice ecosystem. And we have a distributor here, Ingredients by Nature, and they're a family-owned company. We work with a lot of families in the industry, so it's fun to create that ecosystem of great relationships and really family-oriented companies.
So what's the advantage so the bean's separated out, what's the advantage so there's no bean in this, it's the fruit, purely the fruit, only the fruit.
Correct.
What's the advantage of not having the bean? Does that eliminate the caffeine?
So, yeah, in a coffee bean, so I don't know if people know this or not, but the darker your roast, the less the less the caffeine, because you're cooking out the caffeine, right? So the fruit itself is less than 1% caffeine. So, a lot of people, they don't want the caffeine in a product.
Yeah.
And so there's a way to create a really nice antioxidant, eliminate the caffeine, and put it into a lot of different
So it makes it easy for formulators then to work with. How do you offer the ingredient? Is it powder or liquid?
Yep, so we do a powder, we do really fine meshes, tea cut, and a 40 grit concentrate, a liquid extract.
Wow.
So it's shelf stable, doesn't need to be refrigerated. So.
Great, and you live in Kona. I mean,
I live on the Big Island of Hawaii. I can never complain. No one listens to me if I try to complain. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. It's a great time to be in the industry. So much innovation going on, and I was at the NCN, the Nutrition Capital Network meetings a few days ago. Lots of innovative technology. It's really exciting to be here, and thanks for taking this time and seeing what the buzz is. Thanks.